Today we'll be taking a look at Batman, the Telltale series, Episode 1, Realm of Shadows on the PS4 and the Potato Masher. If you don't know, the Potato Masher is a $375 PC custom built in 2014 and designed to compete with the PS4 for the rest of its life cycle. The goal is not to pick on consoles, but to show that PC gaming can be just as good or better for the same money. This game code was provided as a review code with no other stipulations or requirements. That's good because I'm currently saving as much of your Patreon money as possible, so I'll be ready to consider a PlayStation Neo comparison rig this fall if it looks like it will be an interesting or educational series. If you'd like to support this project on Patreon, the link is on screen. There's more info in the description, so let's get to it. I'll be honest, I was expecting this review to go much differently. I've heard non-stop reports about performance and stability issues on the PC version of Batman the Telltale series, so I was planning on illustrating how an adventure game or seemingly simple art style doesn't mean a good port is easy. Telltale doesn't have a great record of good ports, and I expected this to be no different. The game only has two real graphics levels to choose from, which are high performance or high quality textures. So I'm playing on very high quality, but please understand that's not as impressive as it sounds. At 1080p with letterboxing, the frame rate varied from the mid-30s to 60 on the Potato Masher. Frame timing also had quite a bit of variance, which leads to the game feeling choppy and inconsistent. This is one of the main reasons that consoles typically employ frame rate limiters. A smooth, consistently paced 30 FPS will almost always feel and look better than a variable 30 to 60 FPS frame rate, although some of that is subjective. Unfortunately, the PC port doesn't have a built-in frame rate limiter. At least the frame rate stays above 30 on the Masher, which is more than I can say for the PS4. Curiously, the PS4 doesn't have a frame rate limiter in place either, which most console games have to some degree, and it would have greatly benefited from having one here. Besides running at 900p with letterboxing, the PS4 version can theoretically hit 60 FPS, and it does at times. As tested by Digital Foundry and linked in the description, the PS4 frequently dips into the teens and 20s with poor frame timing to match. Simply put, it's not pleasant. While console players have to put up with inconsistent performance or wait for a patch, PC players can more easily monitor their system's performance, which may be where some of these complaints have come from. Still, on the PC, you do have options. Not many literal graphics options in this case, but you can always manually limit the frame rate. I use MSI Afterburner to provide that nice performance overlay on the PC footage, and it comes with Rivatuner Statistics Server. It's kind of a weird name, but it's a snap to set up, and I've included links in the description. You can use Rivatuner to manually limit a program's frame rate to whatever you choose, independent of your monitor or TV's refresh rate. Of course, you'll get the best final result if you choose a simple fraction or multiple of your refresh rate. Disappointed by inconsistent frame rates in Telltale's Batman? Lock the frame rate to 30 like I did. For a game that mimics the look and feel of a comic book or animated movie, it's very curious that it doesn't have this built in as an option, but it massively improves the experience. I never noticed or thought about the frame rate again after employing Rivatuner, and while 60 FPS is always great, a locked 30 is fine for a game like this unless you're extremely bothered by lower frame rates. The PS4 can't quite match up. Besides the frame rate issues, the lower resolution is quite noticeable because of the art style. The virtual pin strokes that outline characters and models have frequent jaggies on the PS4. The PC version could benefit from stronger anti-aliasing options as well, but is better than the PS4 due to its higher resolution. The Masher also has much more noticeable ambient occlusion to the point where I'm not sure the PS4 has any at all. The Masher looks and runs better with no adjustments, and with a frame rate limiter, it runs so much better that it's almost not fair. If you have a 1440p monitor, you're in for even more of a treat. While the game's engine seems to have issues with super sampling, if you run native 1440p, you'll be treated to much less aliasing. The Masher dips into the high 20s every once in a while, but these are short dips and they aren't as noticeable as the PS4's massive frame rate dips. I could alleviate them by dropping down to high performance textures, but it doesn't really bother me as is. Here I'm running native 1440p footage on the left and the PS4's 900p on the right. If you don't normally care about a game's resolution, this may not matter as much to you, but it's hard to ignore the difference. Higher resolutions or frame rates don't make a bad game good, but they do let discerning consumers better appreciate the work programmers and artists put into their games, and for a game that's kind of mimicking the style of a comic book, this does make Batman the Telltale series look quite a bit better. To be clear, I'm not saying that limiting the frame rate on the PC version will definitely fix all the issues I've seen online. Some people report drops into the teens just like the PS4, so I can only report my experience, which I try to do as evenly as possible while still allowing for my personal preferences. Telltale's Batman ran well on the Potato Masher and locked at 60 FPS and 4K on my personal rig, so I didn't really have any problems. It's true that the seemingly endless combinations of available PC hardware can deliver inconsistent results across different games and engines, although this is very rarely a serious game-breaking issue. The usual benefits of a console game is that developers can optimize based on one hardware configuration to deliver a consistent experience. Of course, there are plenty of times where this means everyone enjoys the same consistently bad experience, but usually it means that the guesswork is taken out of it and you can enjoy a pretty decent experience with minimal effort on your part. On PC, you usually have a few options to make the experience better, whether that's brute forcing performance with high-end hardware or limiting the frame rate manually. So, as much as I'm surprised by how this turned out, the PC is where I'd recommend playing Batman the Telltale series. If you enjoyed this video, check out the original build video or any of the other Potato Masher videos linked on screen. This project was started by the Casual Shenanigans Gaming Podcast, which I host, so click the link to check us out. You can support this channel and the Potato Masher project by tossing me a few bucks on Patreon. It helps me test new games quicker and better and prepare for that PS4 Neo. Thank you for your support, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.